Okay, well, just sitting here waiting for a few people to join me. As you can see behind me, I have the fire going, and it's nice and warm and cozy here in the kitchen. My cup of tea. Oh my God, I forgot my pipe. Hang on just a second. I knew there was something missing. I knew there was something wrong. Something just didn't feel right. You know, I have in my hand here, you notice there's no tape on it anymore. Get it in front of the camera, son. That's because this is a new pipe. And this was given to me by my kids, the ones who are now residing in Ottawa. Realized that me smoking a broken pipe was, I got to learn how to hold this, was not the best. That there had to be a better way, a better method of doing this. So they went out and got me a new pipe, for which I am eternally grateful. So while we get started here, bear with me while I just get this thing going, because I enjoy my pipe, and it's one of the few vices I have, if you want to call it that, or guilty pleasures. And it was funny that I'm thinking about it. The reason I remembered it was I was just running through my mind the different things I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And one of them was this idea about, with our political system, our social climate is a better way to put it, is so badly skewed because of the threat of the Me Too syndrome. And it's about the best phrase I can think of to talk about it. We have, people who are being trashed, men who are being destroyed, or at least that the attempt is being made to destroy them because of some minor indiscretion. Because let's face it, we are not talking about when somebody comes out with these allegations. We're not talking about out and out rape here. We're talking about people who, he made this remark. Or in the most recent case, of course, is of Steve Paikin of TVO fame, who is the host of a show called The Agenda. I'm sure all of you, or most of you, if not all, are very familiar with it. It's a very popular program. Steve is one of the, I'm not big on TVO, but I got to admit, when I sit down and watch him, I get a sense of balance and fairness out of him that you don't get out of a lot of other hosts. There's just a certain amount of credibility that he brings to the table, and I can't quite put my finger on why. But the idea that he would, at a meeting with an assistant, ask a potential person who he wants to interview to sleep with him, a former mayoral candidate, to have sex with him at a dinner meeting with their, stretches incredulity. It's just beyond imagination that someone who is as highly intelligent as he's a member of the Order of Canada, he's the head of, I forget the name of the college or university, and he's also a longtime host. I think his career is about 35 years now. To think that he'd risk it all just to sleep with somebody. Look, I don't know what Steve Paikin's financial situation is, none of my business. But I think if he wanted to find somebody he could hire somebody for that, you know what I mean? Like, he could go out and find himself a prostitute or whatever. But it's so outside his character. It's so outside. It's just plain. I have no problem believing Steve Paikin when he says, this is nuts. I didn't do this. I wouldn't do this. And both parties to the scenario know that it didn't happen. And I don't know, he did what I think everybody should do when confronted with this kind of nonsense. He didn't react right away. He talked to his boss. He told his bosses about it right away. He confronted it, in other words. He didn't go running away. He didn't go, oh my God, I got to resign. Because he knew it was garbage. And he knew that there was no truth to it. So Steve got out in front of it. He said, he went out after the dust had kind of settled, he put out a tweet or something like that. He said, now it's my turn. And he told his side of the story. And he said, this is just ridiculous. TVO, to their credit, didn't ask him to stand down. They left him in his post, and he's going to have his day in court. I have no doubt he's going to go after her for slander and libel. Why wouldn't he? So I think he did it the right way. And there's lessons in that for other people who are now in a similar situation. And I think there's a lot of that going on. Excuse me while I light this. Okay. Nothing like a good pipe, folks. Anyway, with that said, I don't have any problem believing that Steve Paikin did not do these things. It just doesn't make any sense. So that got me to thinking, is it now time to bring back the Gentlemen's Only Club? And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about a place where guys can go, enjoy a little, some fine whiskey, maybe a pipe or a cigar, and sit back in a comfortable environment and just be guys and not have to guard every word they say. Are we going back to that? Personally, I'd love that. I would love to see, I would always wanted to have a men's club like that. I'm not talking about a strip club or none of that stuff. To me, that's anything but gentlemanly. Okay, if you frequent a strip club, I'm not going to criticize you one way or the other, but to call it a gentleman's club is just ridiculous. I just don't see the attraction. Anyway, so with that said, I think that Steve did this the right thing. So I'm curious, one of the things I want to find out is, am I the only one that thinks that way? Is it time? Now, I understand legislation and there's no smoking and all that nonsense. I get that. But at the same time, what else are we going to do? Where else can we go where guys can be guys and not have to? Because, look, there's two things that men and women have in common. They talk about each other. And they don't talk about each other the same way they talk to each other. That is as true as the sky is blue. Look, it was true when I was in the Navy. It was true everywhere you go. When guys get together, when they start talking women, they talk about women. And when ladies get together, they talk about men. And I can tell you that from what I've heard from some of the ladies who have told me about these conversations, they're worse than the guys are. It's just the way it is. Is there anything really wrong with that? I mean, we're not talking about sitting down at a meal and being vulgar, in mixed company. But in a private club, in a private setting where guys can just let their, pardon the pun, hair down and just be guys, what harm is there? It's not like they're carrying that with them out into the streets and that's part of their daily lexicon. That's not what we're talking about at all. Just a place where guys can relax and not have to guard every word is all I'm talking about. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody else thinks along the same line. Virginia just posted on Facebook here, the liberal Trudeau girls call him yummy, but a man said it about a woman and Trudeau fired him. Yeah, funny that, isn't it? It's clear, very obviously a double standard and hypocritical. So I just want to start with that. Now, as far as the PC leadership race is concerned, I think we're pretty much know who the main characters are right now. And you have obviously Caroline Mulroney, Christine Elliott, Rob Ford. Those are the big three. I think there's another one involved, but the big three are those three people. And you've got some choices here. On the one side of the coin, you've got the progressives, which are Caroline and Christine Elliott. Okay, they label themselves as progressives. For my money, we don't need any more progressivism in our politics. We need to be clearly, distinctly different than what Kathleen Wynne is offering. Now, to her credit, Caroline Mulroney is going around talking to people about this whole policy they put together, the People's Promise or whatever it's called. And they have come up and she said, I want to talk to people about that and see if there's any changes to be made. Well, you stop at my place, I'll give you plenty of changes to make. Okay, but the point is, we will see. I'm watching that to see what happens. For my money right now, the most conservative of the race is Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford. Oh, man. Doug Ford. I'm going from president to mayor to flopping all over the place here. No, Doug Ford is the most conservative of the bunch. And I don't care if he's, gray-haired and white or if he's purple with green hair. It doesn't matter, because every time somebody mentions somebody like Doug Ford, they say, he's just an angry old white guy. Well, white people don't matter, and it's wrong for them to get angry? I mean, this kind of nonsense, is what drives people crazy in the first place. So I thought, by looking at these, Christine's made her mark. Everybody knows where she stands. So that, in my mind, disqualifies her, because I don't need any more progressivism in my life. You don't need it in yours. It's about time we got back. You know what? Here's a campaign slogan. I'll throw it out there, and anybody who wants to use it, feel free. Getting back to basics. Let's get back. Let's start working back towards the day when the government just took care of the basics and we can take care of everything else. Now, you can define that any way you want to, and that's always the genie in the bottle. Or, that's always Pandora's box. Like, how do you define what the basics are? Well, if it isn't in the yellow pages, okay, the government has to do it. Okay, but that's a pretty small list. So I want to reduce the size of government. I want to lower taxes. I want to cut red tape. I want businesses to thrive. I want people to be able to live their lives the way they want to live it. I don't care who they sleep with. I don't care who they, I'm not interested in meddling around in people's private affairs. The public square is a different animal, but privately, I don't care what they do. Because I'm a live and let live kind of guy. I just like, if my neighbor is doing stuff I don't agree with, as long as he's not bothering me, then I don't care. As long as it stays behind closed doors. What you want. Okay, so there was that one. Oh my God. All right. I'm going to try to keep these tabletop conversations relatively short, but Liz May, I just posted it. An article about Elizabeth May on my Facebook wall. If you haven't seen it yet, go look at it. And I got to tell you, she is, if this party was actually relevant, if it was, then this would be a scandal. What she's done is she's gone out and been in charge of hiring her own lawyer to investigate her own abusive behavior. Okay, and it's this, they're making a big deal out of this. Look, if somebody accuses you of being abusive, you would know. You don't need a lawyer to tell you whether you were abusive or not. And if you do need one, you probably shouldn't be in a position of leadership. That's the first thing that hit me when I looked at this whole story about Lizzie May saying, oh, we have to have an investigation into my behavior. No, you just either have to accept responsibility for it or deny it. One or the other. You don't need a lawyer to figure that out. But the problem is, she's trying to make her party look like it's doing the right. They got one seat, and it's hers. And she's an embarrassment. She's an absolute embarrassment. Now, if the people of Sunshine Coast, which is, I think, her seat, out there in BC, if they want her to represent them, who am I to tell them not to? But don't think you're going to get quality leadership out of a woman who stands on stage a little less than sober, saying that Omar Khadr has more courage than the whole cabinet does. I'm sorry, it just alienates people. The vast majority of Canadians don't vote Green. A lot of it has to do with Elizabeth May. So now she's launched this probe. It's going to be made public, but she's had a hand in picking who the lawyer is going to be. So imagine this. You're sitting there and you decide you want to launch an investigation into your own behavior. Now, you should know what your own behavior is. No. But set that aside. You've now got a lawyer, and you're going to have that lawyer examine the evidence, whatever that is, and come to a conclusion. But you're the one writing the check. You're the one who picked the lawyer. How balanced and fair is this unnecessary probe going to be? I mean, this is just, you know what, folks? This is what makes this stuff so much fun. Because you couldn't write this stuff in Hollywood. You just, how do you do this? How do you go? Oh, man. Do you remember Sven Robinson? He was the first openly gay minister in the House of Commons. Oh, this got to go back 10 years ago. This is on par with Sven Robinson. What he did to raise money, okay, he went to the ocean seaside, and he had a naked picture of himself. He says somebody take a picture of him while he was naked, and then they covered up the picture with seashells. And for $5, you could remove a seashell, or you can put them back. Do you remember that? He's also the guy who got caught stealing his $65,000 diamond ring at an auction house in BC. Excuse me. And when the RCMP showed up to arrest him, oh, the crocodile tears. This is the same kind of theatrics. This is the same kind of nonsense. Now, I don't think he was a Green Party candidate. I think he was a Liberal or no, NDP. But good Lord, it was funny. I even did a parody song about it. It was just absolutely ridiculous. So the Green Party has made, if they had any traction at all, have done themselves, who would vote? Let me ask you this. Even if, because I know in an audience like this, there's going to be more than just conservatives in it. If you had considered voting Green, what are your thoughts about it now? Would you do it now? I mean, come on. The leader of your party is so clueless, she doesn't know if she was a bully or not. Now, look, not everybody knows if they're being a bully at the time. Okay? Especially, you know what? She's acting like a 9-year-old. That's because 9-year-olds don't know when they're being a bully. They just, because the whole world revolves around them, and if it doesn't go their way, something's wrong with the whole darn world. It's not her fault. So she's acting like a little child. But the woman's in her, I don't know, 50s? She should have grown up by now. And when you're being a bully, it doesn't take much to say, hey, that was rude. There was no reason for that. What was your logic? Why did you decide that was a good idea? Because she's creating a hostile environment. Well, you know something? Here's the other side of this coin. If you're working in a hostile environment and your boss is an ass, you've got a choice. You could leave. You don't have to stay exposed to that. Oh, but I'd lose my job. Guess what? Sometimes that happens. I've changed jobs dozens of times in my life. Sometimes, very often almost never did it happen because the boss was a complete jerk. I can think of once. Out of I don't know, dozen jobs I've had where I had to leave because the guy was just an ass. But for the most part, I just wasn't making enough money. So rather than complain to the boss I wasn't making enough money, I went and found another job. So in this case, if the people working for Elizabeth May are going, oh, she's creating a hostile work environment, then leave. Is there a gun to your head? Do you have to stay? Is there some kind of contractual agreement that says you have to put up with whatever she puts out there, that you have no will or mind of your own, that you can't decide I've had enough of this and walk out? What is the matter with people? Why is everything always somebody else's fault? Why can't they say, you know what, I'm just going to be an adult about this, and since I can't do anything about it, since they're the boss and I'm not, I'm going to act in my own best interest, and I'll pick up my purse or pick up my coat at the door, and I won't darken the doorway again. And I'll tell the boss why I'm leaving. And sometimes that's the kick in the pants they need to go, whoa, wait a minute. And all of a sudden things change. But if all you ever do is bitch and whine about it, don't be surprised if the behavior doesn't change. So anyway, so that's just a couple of topics I wanted to get off my chest. I do want to explain a little bit about this kitchen table feature before I sign off. I enjoy doing this. It's a very relaxed format. It's hard not to like working out of your living room. Who doesn't like, or out of your kitchen? Now, I'm doing it in the kitchen during the cold months. Once we get into the summer, it'll change a little bit because I'm going to go out and get a video camera, and I'll be doing it from all over the place. I could do it from my front porch. I could do it from the seat of my tractor. I could do it up here on the mountain. I could do it in Killaloe. I can do it pretty much anywhere. Anywhere I can set the camera up and just take 5 or 10 minutes to talk about whatever's on my mind on any given day. And because I like to keep things interesting, and I like to keep things, engaging for people to not only just sit here and listen to me rant, but at the same time to give them something to look forward to. Where's he going to be next? Maybe the local car dealership. I don't know. I doubt that. But just different spots around where the scenery changes, and I get to enjoy the scenery, and so do you. Because through the magic of internet, we can do this now. So there's one spot I do want to do it in the spring. There's a waterfall about 1.5 miles from where I'm sitting now. It's back on Brennan's Creek, and with a camera and a tripod, I can take you there, and I'll show you the waterfalls. It's about 20 feet high, and in the spring runoff, it's impressive. It's not exactly Niagara Falls or Victoria Falls, but it ain't that big a creek, but we'll have to stay back a little bit because otherwise you'll never hear me. The roar of the water coming over the rocks is really something. And it's a very, very, it's a nice place. It's almost like, I won't call it a pilgrimage, but we make a family trip back there about once a year, April, May, depending on the climate, how much snow is on the ground and how hard the falls are, because it's not easy to get there. You have to walk, and it takes a little while to get there. It's from where you get out of the pickup, it's about half an hour walk, and a lot of that slogging up and down hills and stuff like that, because of course, you have to get to the top of the waterfalls. So I'll take you back there, and you can have a look around. And we'll do a little feature from there. So that's kind of what I have in mind for this. The Nick at Night show, I'm still hoping to bring that back in March. We'll see, depending on how things it's a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be to resurrect that. But it is still on the radar. I'm still working on trying to get that done. All right, well, that wraps it up for me today. I just wanted to take a few minutes and share with you some of those thoughts, give you a little idea of where I want to take this segment. And we'll see you all again soon. Fair winds, folks, and thanks for listening.